gente fala de desenvolvimento de um país ou de uma empresa mesmo, a gente logo pensa em desenvolvimento econômico. E a felicidade? Será que pode ter influência nessa história também? Eu conversei com o ex-primeiro-ministro do Butão, o Tirin Tobgay. Ele veio para cá, para o Brasil, participar de um evento do grupo Esfera Brasil. E eu falei com ele justamente sobre isso, porque lá no Butão eles têm o índice de Felicidade Interna Bruta. Eles consideram a felicidade como algo importante para o desenvolvimento. Eles medem a felicidade das pessoas. E eu perguntei para ele como funciona essa medida e mais, como isso pode influenciar e inspirar outros países e empresas também. Vamos ver. So let's talk about the gross national happiness. What is this measure, and more than that, how to use this measure efficiently when you are in charge of a country?
So most countries measure the success of their policies through GDP. The success of the country, the success of society is measured through GDP. In Bhutan, we measure our success through something called gross national happiness. And gross national happiness is a development philosophy that places the happiness and well-being of its people at the center of the development agenda. This is the main purpose of development and growth in Bhutan, the happiness and well-being of the people. In gross national happiness, material growth, the economy is important, but that growth, material growth, economic growth, must be sustainable and it must be balanced with social progress, with cultural preservation, with environmental sustainability, and with good governance. We measure gross national happiness of our people, of our country, every 5 years. And this is a big exercise because gross national happiness is divided into 9 domains: education, health, living standard, environment, governance, time use, psychological well-being, community, culture. So these 9 domains we believe are important. They are the conditions that promote well-being and happiness in the country. These 9 domains are divided into 33 indicators, which are divided into 144 variables. And then we run a questionnaire through the entire country every 5 years. The results of the questionnaire, the results of the survey are analyzed, and they will give you a snapshot of how the country looks at that particular time. But more importantly, they will give you indicators of where we are doing well and where we are not doing so well, where people are happy and where people are not so happy, geographically, but also by gender, also by whether rural against urban environments, young against old. And so we have a whole lot of information that if governments and policy planners choose to use, they can use that information to improve happiness and well-being, to improve gross national happiness in society.
You talked about economic growth, and that was really my question. How can we talk about happiness when many people still think exclusively about economic growth? Are they distinct or complementary?
It depends on the individual. What is your main purpose in life? Is it to be rich or is it to be happy? If it is to be rich, just pursue economic growth, material growth alone. It won't make you happy. Yeah? But if your purpose is overall well-being, contentment, if you have a larger purpose in life, if it is happiness of yourself and of your family and of society, then economic growth is important. There's no doubt about it. You need money. But there are other dimensions to life that are equally important.
I saw your TED Talk and you talk about a sense of security as an important factor for happiness, having a home, a steady job, savings, which unfortunately many people don't have. So the situation changes from country to country. For some then it's easier to be happy than for others, I suppose. So how then can we develop this happiness where it is most difficult?
I believe that it's difficult to be happy, to have a sense of well-being, if you do not have a sense of security. Without security, you're going to be uncertain, you're going to be anxious all the time. You don't know about tomorrow. And therefore, the sense of security, whether it is job, and job security, finance and financial security, whether it's the security of your family, your home, your security of your health, your social structure, support systems. I believe all of that is very important. And it is the responsibility of governments, of public leaders, of community leaders, of business leaders to enhance the sense of security of their people.
The pandemic, in a certain way, had an impact in this sense of security, right? So what can we learn from that?
The pandemic had a big impact on a sense of security. What I've learned, there are many things I've learned from the pandemic, but one of the things that I felt a great sense of sadness is that families, the family as a unit, one of the values of the family, among the many values of love, compassion, loyalty, sharing, caring, one of the biggest values is that you take care of each other. Especially when things are difficult, you take care of each other. If one member of the family is not doing well, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, you take care of this particular person. That is the definition of family. My observation is that in the company should be an extension of family, because you spend more time in the company, in the workplace, than in your family. If you discount the 8 hours that you're sleeping, you should be sleeping for 8 hours. If you discount that, you're left with 16 hours. 8 hours you are at work, 2 hours you're commuting, you have 6 hours. Of the 6 hours, 2 hours you are with your friends in society and social obligations, you're left with 4 hours with your family. But at work, you are there for 8 hours. You spend more time at work than with your family. I believe it should be a more powerful and more intimate extension of your family. And at work, when things go bad, if you have a difficult time, the entire working community should come together to help that person. What happened during the pandemic? The moment COVID pandemic struck, the moment when people in the workplace were anxious and uncertain and scared, many companies, not all, many companies laid off millions of people indiscriminately just when they needed support the most. This is not what families do. And the lesson I've learned is that companies and corporations and businesses must learn to be extension of the families.
Hearing you speak is very inspiring. So I think it inspires a lot of companies and a lot of leaders. So how can measuring happiness can inspire companies and countries around the world?
Well, companies and countries must understand their purpose. If the purpose of the company or the purpose of the government is not understood to be to create happiness and well-being in the people, why would you spend time there? If the purpose of the company is profit maximization for its shareholders, why go with this nonsense of being happiness? But if you can convince the leaders of the companies that there could be a larger purpose than profit maximization, then you're talking business. Then you can talk about happiness and well-being of their employees and of the community at large. But I would go further to say that if the leader of a company is interested in profit maximization, the most sustainable way to profit maximization is through the well-being and happiness of its people. So eventually you should invest there. Similarly, of government leaders, if you want a stronger country, you should have happier citizens.
We are very inspired by you, and I hope that you, in a certain way, are also inspired by Brazil. So thank you so much, and I hope you can come back to Brazil eventually.
Brazil is my newest favorite country, so I will be back because I feel so much inspired here. Thank you, Mary.